买特斯拉不是因为特斯拉车不好。
Is the Tesla Y model uncomfortable right now? If you say it's not, you're not being honest. You're getting outperformed by the Xiaomi YU7. On the surface, people say, Tesla is impressive, worth learning from, but behind closed doors, they want to crush it. The Xiaomi YU7 is directly targeting the Model Y, and it's priced 10,000 yuan cheaper.
In fact, it's not just 10,000 yuan cheaper. On the surface, the Xiaomi YU7 specs even appear slightly better than the Model Y. Experts indicate that Xiaomi's strategy is clear. It's targeting Tesla directly. This move is more than a price war. It's a challenge to Tesla's market share, and Xiaomi's approach is proving effective. When the YU7 launched on June 26, it quickly secured 280,000 orders. With such strong competition, Tesla is facing significant market pressure. Tesla's performance in the Chinese market is rapidly deteriorating, not just with the Model Y, but across the board. According to the China Passenger Car Association, Tesla's retail sales in June 2025 totaled 61,000 units, placing it fourth among the top 10 electric vehicle manufacturers. In May, the situation was even worse. Sales dropped by 30.1% compared to the previous year, and Tesla's ranking fell to 8th. The remaining top spots were claimed by local Chinese brands. Looking at the top three, BYD sold 352,000 units in June, Geely reached 115,000, Changan sold 76,000. Each saw significant year-on-year growth, with BYD increasing by 25.7%, Geely by 80.7%, and Changan by 57.9%. In the first half of 2025, Tesla's cumulative sales were 263,000 units, down 5.4% from the previous year. This makes it the only company in the top 10 new energy manufacturers to experience a decline. In the same period, BYD's sales grew 33%, reaching 1.6 million units, more than 6 times Tesla's sales. In recent years, as competition in China's auto market intensifies, price wars are in full swing. As a foreign player, Tesla is facing strong competition from local Chinese automakers, with its market share continually shrinking. In 2021, Tesla held about 11% of China's EV market. In May 2025, that share had plummeted to just 4%, while BYD's market share had surged to 29%. Analysts suggest that after Chinese local competitors mastered the technology and developed their own supply chains, Tesla may be following in the footsteps of Motorola and Apple, trapped in China's so-called feed, trap, and kill strategy for foreign companies. The feed, trap, and kill strategy, as summarized by American financial scholar Noah Smith, describes a tactic used by China to handle foreign companies in its market. It starts by attracting foreign investment with promises of a massive market and favorable policies, luring companies to set up factories. Then, through joint ventures, talent movement, and even corporate espionage, China acquires key technologies. Finally, China uses these advantages to support local companies, helping them surpass foreign competitors and eventually push them out of the market. The first step in the strategy is to draw in foreign companies using market potential. In January 2019, Tesla broke ground on its first overseas gigafactory in Shanghai, marking a key moment in Tesla's global expansion strategy and signaling its ambitious plans for the Chinese government. Tesla CEO Elon Musk attended the ceremony, where the Chinese government rolled out the red carpet, and the media praised him for sparking China's EV industry. In turn, Musk praised the Shanghai factory, saying, "China is the future." When Tesla entered China, the Chinese government was actively promoting the EV industry. In addition to the market potential, policy incentives also became an irresistible attraction for foreign companies. The Chinese government offered unprecedented support to Tesla, including low-cost land, tax breaks, convenient financing, and relaxed regulatory environments. These policies allowed Tesla to establish its presence quickly, and its Model 3 and Model Y became stars in China's EV market. Between 2020 and 2022, Tesla's sales in China grew rapidly, with the Shanghai factory's production capacity accounting for nearly half of its global total and nearly 40% of its battery supply chain, making it a critical part of Tesla's global operations. However, entering the market was only the beginning. The second step of the feed, trap, and kill strategy is technology acquisition. To comply with Chinese policies, Tesla was forced to share parts of its core technologies, including details of its advanced battery management system and autopilot technology. The Shanghai factory's localized supply chain strategy also helped Chinese battery manufacturers like CATL grow rapidly. Not only did these companies become key suppliers for Tesla, but they also started supporting other local automakers. What appeared to be a mutually beneficial partnership has laid the groundwork for challenges down the road. More importantly, Tesla's Shanghai factory trained a large number of Chinese engineers and technicians. After mastering Tesla's production processes and management models, these talents moved to local companies such as BYD, NIO, and Xiaomi Motors, providing key support for their technological upgrades and product development. It can be said that Tesla's presence allowed China's domestic EV brands to grow rapidly. As the technological gap between local Chinese brands and Tesla began to narrow, Tesla's value declined, triggering the third step, kill, using policy support to allow local brands to overtake Tesla, pushing it out of the market. Specifically, BYD, with its low-price strategy and government subsidies, has not only dominated the domestic market, but also expanded aggressively into Europe, Southeast Asia, and other global markets. Huawei and Xiaomi Motors, leveraging their advantages in consumer electronics, have quickly gained market share in China at Tesla's expense. Political and economic commentator Wu Jialong pointed out, Musk probably didn't realize this model existed. After Tesla's technology leaked, Chinese companies built their own supply chains and brands, gradually replacing Tesla in the Chinese market and even competing with Tesla globally. He emphasized that, due to a decline in income and employment, consumer savings have increased, leading to weaker domestic demand. Faced with overcapacity, China's EVs can only be sold cheaply to global markets, creating a vicious cycle of price wars. Even if Tesla expands its factory in Mexico, it will still struggle to escape the fierce competition in both the global market and from Chinese car manufacturers. Tesla's current predicament is a direct result of the feed, trap, kill strategy, with technology acquisition to market exclusion. Before Tesla, both Motorola and Apple had already experienced similar challenges. In the 1990s, U.S. telecommunications giant Motorola entered the Chinese market in a similar manner. As the global leader in mobile communications at the time, Motorola quickly dominated the Chinese mobile phone market with its advanced technology. To comply with China's market entry requirements, Motorola invested in factories in China, trained many local engineers, and transferred some of its core technologies, including mobile communication equipment manufacturing processes and supply chain management expertise. This process directly contributed to the rise of Huawei. Mark Duval, a former Motorola China executive, recalled, "What Motorola dealt with was an all-of-nation approach to acquiring every possible technology, supply chain intelligence, and understanding of our products. We partnered with them, and we were competitors with them. At the end of the day, they, Huawei, exist, and Motorola does not." Huawei greatly benefited from Motorola's technology transfer in its early days, gradually mastering the core technology of mobile communications and growing into a global giant through a low-price strategy and policy support. As local companies like Huawei grew, the Chinese company began implementing policies that restricted Motorola's market activities. For example, the government required Motorola to adopt Huawei's battery standards, which not only increased its operational costs, but also weakened its product's competitiveness. The policy shift gradually eroded Motorola's market share in China, with local brands gaining ground. Duval pointed out that China's strategy was to support local companies with national power, using technology acquisition and market protection to achieve import substitution, ultimately pushing foreign companies out of the market. In 2011, Motorola's core mobile business was sold to Google and later acquired by China's Lenovo. Motorola's fall became a classic example of how foreign companies can be hit by a dual blow, technology transfer and policy restrictions, thus losing their competitive edge in the Chinese market. Similar to Tesla and Motorola, Apple's experience in the Chinese market also highlights the effectiveness of the feed, trap, and kill strategy. As the leader in the global consumer electronics industry, Apple began developing its iPhone manufacturing operations in China in the mid-2000s, establishing one of the world's most complex consumer electronics supply chains. Apple not only worked closely with Taiwan's Foxconn, but also helped foster Chinese companies like Luxshare Precision and BYD Electronics, turning them into world-class supply chain partners. The rise of these companies not only boosted China's position in global electronics manufacturing, but also provided local brands with valuable technological and management expertise. Apple's ecosystem helped China's mobile phone brands grow. Companies like Huawei, Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo benefited from Apple's supply chain, learning advanced manufacturing techniques, quality control standards, and supply chain management models. For example, Luxshare Precision started by producing components for Apple, later growing into a company that provides high-end manufacturing services to local brands like Huawei. Apple's strict standards and technical demands indirectly spurred the technological upgrading of Chinese companies. However, this open ecosystem also became a double-edged sword for Apple. As the Wall Street Journal noted, Apple helped grow its competitors, paving the way for the rise of Chinese mobile phone brands. As local Chinese mobile phone brands matured, the Chinese government began supporting their development through policy measures that weakened Apple's market competitiveness. In early 2025, the Chinese government expanded its consumer electronics subsidy program, setting a cap of around $850. This amount precisely covered flagship models from local brands like Huawei and Xiaomi, but excluded Apple's high-end iPhone series. This policy shift directly pushed up the market share of local brands while limiting Apple's sales potential in China. The weakening of Apple's position is also being exacerbated by the country's slowing consumer demand. Financial commentator Xu Zhihuang noted that consumer behavior in China has changed significantly. In the past, Apple's loyal customers tended to upgrade to the latest iPhone every year, but recently consumers have extended their upgrade cycles to 2 to 3 years, or even opted to buy older models for better value. This trend, once common in the Android market, is now seen among Apple users, reflecting the decline in China's consumer purchasing power. Xu also pointed out that while AI features like voice translation and image editing have brought some renewed interest to the market, these capabilities are now available through apps, which is diminishing Apple's technological advantage. Apple's experience in China mirrors Tesla's struggles in similarly striking ways. Both companies helped boost local Chinese brands through technology transfers and supply chain localization. However, they were eventually squeezed by policy restrictions and increased market competition. These cases show that while technology diffusion is a natural result of business cooperation, it can also mark the beginning of foreign companies losing their competitive edge. Tesla currently faces challenges similar to those Apple encountered in the smartphone market, including low-price competition from local brands, policy barriers, and consumer bias. Apple's story serves as a cautionary tale for Tesla. Short-term growth in China may mask longer-term strategic risks. One key lesson is the importance of protecting technology. Motorola and Apple's failures were largely due to the spread of their core technologies, while Tesla tried to mitigate risks with patent protections and limited technology sharing when it entered China. Its localized supply chain and talent movement led to technology leakage. Companies must establish strong technology protection strategies before entering the Chinese market, such as using encryption and restricting key technology transfers to minimize risk. Another lesson is the need for market diversification. Tesla's heavy reliance on the Chinese market left it with little flexibility as local brands rose and policy restrictions increased. German carmakers like Volkswagen and BMW have reduced their dependence on China by expanding into emerging markets like India and Southeast Asia. Foreign companies should adopt diversified market strategies to spread the risks of relying too heavily on one market. Beyond the feed, trap, kill strategy, there is another theory. As Musk loses political influence in the US, his political appeal in China may also fade, which could impact Tesla's operations in the country. As for the Chinese government, Musk offered the world's leading electric vehicle platform, as well as the potential to serve as an informal bridge between China and the US. This gave him significant political leverage. In this context, Tesla was not just a technological leader, but also a valuable geopolitical asset. In fact, the Chinese government has already begun making moves last year. Tesla's full self-driving technology was initially heavily regulated, with China keeping it out. However, by 2024, there was a sudden shift in policy. Reports suggest that when Musk visited China in April, the government responded with rare positive signals. Baidu Maps quickly began providing Tesla with lane-level navigation services, a key component for the rollout of full self-driving in China. What's more, even though regulatory restrictions were still in place, Tesla was granted test qualifications and began offering advanced driving features to some paying users. Shanghai was even rumored to be a candidate for the global debut of full self-driving, highlighting Musk's privileged position in China's policy landscape. The public interpretation in China was that this was a strategic move by the Chinese government, not only to gain access to Tesla's advanced self-driving technology, but also to maintain a cooperation channel with Musk. This underscores his special status in the policy realm. However, the real driving force behind these privileges lies in Musk's personal political capital. If that capital shifts, all of these privileges could be withdrawn. Recently, Musk and President Trump disagreed over the Big Beautiful Bill, and Musk went on to form the America Party. Their relationship has not only remained unresolved, but seems to be deepening. Musk, once a close ally in Washington, is now a potential rival, and his political credibility has sharply declined. This shift has reached Beijing, where Chinese officials who once saw Musk as an asset have begun to distance themselves. It is reported that a local industry official commented, "Musk is no longer the person who can help us politically." Sources indicate that China has since moved to depoliticize Musk, no longer offering him preferential treatment. This marks the end of Tesla's political advantage in China. Without this political backing, Tesla will have to confront an increasingly competitive market. The Musk who was once warmly welcomed in Shanghai has faded from the diplomatic scene, and Tesla's future in China may follow the path of other foreign brands, facing the inevitable final step of being pushed out of the market.